Hi, credit union friends, and welcome to the BD Now channel. Today, we have Blake Woods with Community Financial Credit Union with us. He is the VP of Insights, Innovation, and Impact. Hi, Blake.
Hey, Julie, you're making me realize what a long title I have. I got to work to come up with an acronym for that or something. But really, really great to be on the show today and looking forward to the conversation.
Oh, I'm happy you're here. So tell us, I love the title, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Yeah. I would say about a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, was asked to start working with a few more teams. And one was our voice of the member team. And we rebranded that to Insight. So we're really trying to understand our members through things like focus groups, surveys, interviews, or even research that exists out in the space. Innovation, I think, is self-explanatory. Really trying to apply like human-centered design to the way we solve problems. And then impact, which I think will be the topic of our conversation today, is maybe what some teams would call business development, partnerships, or even community relations. We kind of rolled all of that up into our impact team, and that includes our foundation as well. So we have a 501(c)(3) here at CFCU that we're super proud of.
Fantastic. That's great. So let's talk about impact. We are in the swing of summer season. We're recording this in early June. And impact teams, business development, community engagement, we are heading out into the field to sponsor events, farmers markets. Yesterday, I saw some friends from Red Canoe Credit Union. They were off to a golf tournament. We're sponsoring summer concert series. The list goes on in all of our communities across the country. And so today I want to talk about impact. And simply, and I remember this from my first tech days, I would go to sponsorships and do a lot of prep and plan. And I would just be like, okay, I want people to come talk to me. How do we get in this big event people to come to our table or area and engage with us? So, can you
Yeah.
tell us, Blake, a little bit about your process
Yeah. And
and how
first,
you accomplish that?
I want to give a shout out to Red Canoe Credit Union. I've worked with a few awesome people from that credit union in my past through DE. So really, really pleased to hear you mention them. Yes, it's a huge conversation, right? We are stewards of our members' money at the end of the day. We want to make sure when we spend that out in the community that we're doing it efficiently and doing it in a way that can drive those business outcomes because we know at CFCU the more deposits we bring on, the more members that we attract through our impact or BD efforts, as some might call it, then the more of that community work we can do, right? It's kind of cyclical in that way. So we've got to make sure that we're not just writing checks and, then having no one come talk to us at these events. You can see from the bear over my shoulder here, our brand looks a lot different than maybe your typical bank or credit union. So that's one thing is we make sure our impact team is, dressed in our purple and orange. We are very noticeable. We stand out with those. But again, not everyone has a purple and orange bear to work with. We were really intentional about naming this team the impact team because we want them to be high energy. We draw inspiration from groups like the Savannah Bananas, who, Julie, I know you and I have talked about that
Yes.
before. For the viewers who
Mhm.
maybe haven't heard of them, go to Instagram or Google and type in, you'll see the type of performance that they really bring to their work. And we're trying to do that in the community. So not standing behind the table. When we're down at Ford Field for the Lions games, we are walking the block. We are telling people to come engage with us. And then the last thing I'll share, Julie, is what we do. We've really gotten away from the trinkets and the tchotchkes and really tried to do more meaningful things that can go viral and spread our brand outside of just the people that are there at the event. And the good example of that is our Impossible Dreams campaign. So it's a small business card. I usually have one by my desk. I don't have one on me right now. QR code on it, and we ask people, what would make today, a dream day for them. And they scan that QR code. And then we have impact team members waiting behind the scenes to go execute that. And we get dreams big and small, right? Like some people just want a better seat, or they want, a round of beers for their friends at the event. And we love to accommodate those. We also get super meaningful things, Julie, through that campaign. People who talk about friends with terminal illnesses, and, people who haven't been able to afford to see family members that are out of town. And, we've granted trips and all sorts of great things through that campaign. And that is really cool, Julie, because now we're becoming known as like these dream makers. So when we're at events, people come to our table. We don't even have to work too hard, because they've seen on social media, they've heard from their neighbors, their friends, their coworkers that we're the people granting those dreams. So big long answer, but those are just some of the ways we're trying to stand out.
Okay, so if you're no trinkets, you're getting away from that. So what is on your table? I mean, I know you're in front of it, you're walking do you even have a table?
Yeah, oftentimes we don't have a table. And I do want to pause too and say, I'm sure some people say, well, we would never have the budget for that. Just to level set, we're a credit union, we're under $2 billion. And I mentioned, partnership with the Lions. We do other community events, but we are a little bit specific and choosy about which ones we can do. Obviously, we can't run a campaign like that 5 days a week. So frequency might be a little bit less. And then, yes, to your point, we may not even have a table. We do have a truck that's wrapped, and sometimes we'll bring that to events, and that'll bring people over who want to look under the hood and or just check it out. But outside of that, it's really the team and the cards themselves that we're kind of using to spread joy. There's rarely any sort of giveaway that we have at these events. Word of mouth of the event works. Like I'll see, first we'll get there, it'll be slow, like all the other tables have tchotchkes, so people are flocking to them. But all of a sudden we get a few people, and I start seeing people pointing fingers. If you go over there, and especially once we grant a dream and we try to make a big show of that,
Yeah.
now again we're fighting off, and we're wishing we would have printed off 100 more cards, because we're running out. So again, if you can execute quickly with a campaign like this, your best marketers will be the people that come see you.
So for those watching that are thinking, okay, budget, right? Like,
Mm.
so I know you, I mean, your CEO is Tansley, and so this is a strategic initiative, probably from the top, that you're investing in this. But do you have any tips for BD community, the impact teams out there that want to do something different or grander? I guess going into, I mean, budgets are set, I know, for this year, but maybe thinking about 2025. Do you have any results or things that you can share that would help them make something like this come true for them?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think the call report for CFCU kind of bears out the value of this, but I don't want to minimize the effort it took. We had a very long-standing and very well-respected kind of community giving program prior to Tansley's arrival and my arrival. And there is a lot of difficult work that needed to take place to reframe and step away, frankly, from causes that we've supported. But again, I think when you can help people understand that, our growth and the awareness that we build through this smaller quantity of events will help us do more in the future. And then just some of the things, that we've been able to do through our impact arm. We've, stood up a loan for survivors of domestic violence. We've started a cancer care agent program with Andy Janning, who I think is a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
When you have things like that, it gives you a leg to stand on when you redirect giving. But yes, we did have to say no to many causes that we supported long term, but having a plan and having something else we could point to and say, but these are the things that we're going to be doing, and this is the way we're going to activate in your community, made those conversations somewhat easier. I don't, again, they were difficult in many ways, and then freed up the budget for us. So we're not rolling the Impossible Dreams campaign out every day or even every week. It's more about signature events throughout the year. And I think, one or two of those gives us as much impressions on social media and brand awareness than 20 of the more traditional maybe golf outing, pancake breakfast, those types of things. And again, those are great ways for organizations to spend money. But for us trying to do BD a little bit differently, it just was no longer a fit in our giving strategy.
What about Blake, the team that's out there?
Yeah, so impact is always been a huge part of this organization. It was just under a different name before um, I started working with the team. So we've always had dedicated resources to that function. So yeah, we have impact specialists, and their role is to do just what I was describing. And when they're not in the community, they're supporting our school program, and that is something that's quite specialized. We have 53 student-run credit unions throughout the state. And so it's funny, as we were gearing up for this talk, Julie, you mentioned this being the busy time. Summer's actually, in some ways the less busy time for our team because they're not in those schools doing deposit days across the state. Now they're focusing more on the events that we discussed. But yeah, it's a specialized role. We have a lot of former educators in those roles, and we've got a great team, many who have been with the organization for a long time that came up through the experience arm. So they understand when people approach them and ask them, well, tell me about your CDs, or tell me about how I would go about opening an account. They're able to answer those given that experience. One thing I just want to go back to, because I touched on kind of a controversial topic around like saying no to things. One way to do that would be to use a different department that I mentioned, but anyone could do this. You don't need a department. Get a focus group. There's research facilities in many communities across the state where you can recruit 10 people and just ask if they've ever heard of your credit union, or ask if, you being at cause X or cause Y would cause them to change their banking decision. We did that work. So we knew going in through some research, and we ran this experiment a few times, that the ways that we were doing giving weren't driving brand recognition, and they weren't likely to change someone's banking behavior. So we owe it to our members again to spend their money wisely. And so that's why we made the shift. And again, I don't mean to minimize how difficult that was, but just some other ideas for people who maybe are nervous or not sure how to take that leap.
Yeah, that's an important step rather than us just sitting in a conference room making some decisions. What about like after? Like you're out there, you're making impact, and what happens next? Are you having further conversations with these people you're touching? Is it brand awareness? Are there goals? I know a lot of people out there in business development, the question from the leadership team always is, okay, how many people came? How many members did
Mm.
you get? So there's a real sometimes I don't know, pressure to get business from everything. And I think sometimes it's the wrong time. You're at a farmer's market and, it just feels awkward to try to get business at a farmer's market rather than just make an impact and be memorable. So can you talk a little bit about that? What happens after you have these touches?
Yeah, and that'll be different for each credit union. For us, with a new brand and really like a huge shift in our business from the foundation to the products to the purple bear. For us, we really wanted to use impact as brand awareness. We again ran those focus groups. We did some surveys on the market, and we had very low brand awareness for the amount of money we were spending on impact or BD. So for us, that was the main goal. We do have follow-up. So I mentioned the Dreams campaign. We try to activate those in the immediate, in the moment. But we also do follow up with people after the fact and grant dreams as well. And then we are able to get some of those great moments via social media. We do, keep their emails, and we keep them apprised of what we're up to. And yeah, those are definitely like secondary goals driving business outcomes. For us right now, the biggest thing is making sure people know who we are and know, we're the place for savers, and we do things a little bit differently up here.
Thank you, Blake, for giving
Mhm.
us so much to think about. We're going to end on a social spotlight. And so, who do you follow that inspires you in the social sphere?
Oh gosh, what a great question. I have to go back to those Savannah bananas. I mentioned them once already, but worth a follow. We really need to make sure as we try to reach like the next generation of bankers, families, young people, that we're bringing that type of energy to them. Something that's going to make them want to pull out their phone and tell their five closest people about what's going on at the farmers market that day or what's going on down at Ford Field. So that's a big inspiration for us right now.
Yeah. The Savannah, I follow them on Instagram and they make me smile. So if you need smiles, they're amazing. And if you love baseball, it makes it even better.
Yeah, definitely. And what I love about them is my wife's not a huge baseball fan. She's more into hockey's kind of her sport. But she follows the Savannah Bananas too. So like they've found a way to attract eyeballs outside of their core business. And I think that's a really interesting thing for credit unions to be thinking about right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think this topic right now coming out in summer is perfect because fall is going to be here. I mean, I know we're just like, let's enjoy summer, but quick, right? And we're going to start
Mhm.
thinking about budgeting for next year. And so as we move through this next part of the year, BD Now community, think about how your giving strategy, your sponsorship strategy, and are there things, can you get a focus group together? Can you check brand awareness? I think any of us can raise the flag and bring up that conversation in our meetings. So let's start talking about it more and make sure that we are really making an impact and people understand our brand. So thank you, Blake, for giving us so much to think about and joining me. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, you as well, Julie. Yeah, thanks anytime. And friends of Julie's are friends of mine. So reach out with questions. I'd love to get your ideas on how to do this work better.
We'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you.